And brings us to the big show of the manager's recommended budget presentation.
No pressure. We're going to give her more time. We're going to give her more time. Great. All in place. Well, great evening to everyone, and especially to our Honorable Board of Commissioners, to Chair Alum, Vice Chair Burns, Commissioner Jacobs, Howerton, and Carter. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. It is indeed an honor for me to present my recommended budget for fiscal year 24-25. This proposed budget helps guide the county through the harrowing straits of infinite needs and finite resources. It's also the result of thousands of hours of work across all county departments. Thank you so much to our county staff and all of the diligent work you all have provided to building this proposed budget. The shared city and county agencies, thank you all so much for investing time to help us build this recommended budget. And also a significant number of partner agencies that support vital county goals. So to all of our employees, to our Board of Commissioners, to the partner agencies, I just want to extend a great, big, heartfelt thank you. Could not do this without you. And I specifically want to acknowledge some additional folks, our Deputy County Managers, Claudia Hager, Maurice Jones, and our entire budget team. Could I get the budget staff that are here to just stand? Let's please. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm telling you, we have rock stars in Durham County, and you have just seen some of them. Thank you all so much for all of your heartfelt work. So the budget development process is a consensus of county needs. It's an annual evaluation of county direction, and it's a fiscal application of county resources. It's a series of considered decisions that culminate in comprehensive solutions, as reflected in this recommended budget. And so, as a resilient government, we must be able to perform during the best of times, and just as importantly, during times of economic, environmental, and social struggles. And while there are many areas where the county can expand or add additional services, there are limitations to our very finite resources. Therefore, my recommended budget must make targeted, and as I have found it, especially to be this year, very tough decisions that offer what staff and I consider to be the best county investment. As any board meeting will attest, the county is working in many different areas. Over the course of many different meetings, budget discussions may cover the future of Research Triangle Park. We may have impassioned discussions about the critical needs around affordable housing. We may discuss the push for increased utilization of diverse suppliers. And quite often, we are evaluating approaches to address eviction diversion and food insecurity. Such varied board meetings reflect the many priorities of the board and residents, as well as the complexities of supporting close to 30 different agencies that provide a myriad of services and programs. So, a shifting landscape of resources and needs supports the county's investment in a renewed strategic plan. Our strategic plan division has been hard at work on developing this new plan and a forward-thinking plan and vision by seeking input from departments, from our leadership teams, as well as from community members. We have named this plan DECO Forward 2029, and it will help position the county to address community priorities for years to come, whatever the status of our economy is. And let's be reminded that Durham County is fortunate to have a very strong economy. With that being said, we are seeing revenue growth rates returning to patterns experienced prior to the coronavirus pandemic. And as a result, the key priorities built into this recommended budget attempt to apply the limited revenue growth to the most important areas that we feel will provide the best outcomes. My number one priority, given such slowing revenue growth, is continuing to support and grow educational and workforce development opportunities for all Durham County residents, with the support of Durham Public Schools at its core. All other priorities are considered within the framework of long-term financial stability and affordability. Every year, fiscal strength and fiscal stress balance precariously between the levered ends of revenue collection and expenditure growth. The budget development process tries to move the pendulum towards fiscal strength through judicious revenue projections while also supporting sustainable expenditure growth through strategic choices. However, the unpredictability of budget development, it comes by predicting the future with limited data. In turn, that variability between prediction and reality can quickly swing the pendulum back towards fiscal stress. And indeed, this is what has happened in our current fiscal year. Actual revenue collection compared to estimated collection was not as strong as initially predicted. As previously stated, revenue growth patterns are returning to levels seen before the pandemic. And so these new financial realities require a shift in the organization's expenditure growth to align with our projected revenues. As you see here, a view of revenue changes shows ongoing growth in property tax revenue, and this is before any property tax rate increase. This growth of $22 million is in our general fund and capital financing fund. This continues to be a trend, this annual strong natural growth of property taxes. However, when looking at other major revenues, the growth is significantly lower. General fund sales tax growth is only $1 million, while several other revenue sources are seeing an estimated reduction. It's these key revenue sources and their natural growth that fund many built-in costs in the county. Without higher annual natural growth in revenue sources, the county must raise the property tax rate to collect more revenue or slow expenditure growth, or a combination of both options. So while such revenue slowdowns can affect the pendulum swing that we spoke about, the swing can be exaggerated by expenditure changes. You see here the general fund's two largest expenditure changes includes a $13.3 million increase for employee compensation and a $12.9 million plus for educational and workforce development. These increases include DPS, Durham Tech, and pre-K support. It's actually more like $14 million. These two spending areas alone cost more than projected revenue growth. Therefore, I am recommending a freeze on all vacant positions that are not critical, and I'm recommending reducing departmental budgets by approximately $1 million. This is the second year in a row that departments have reallocated existing dollars and also had operational dollar reduction to support other funding needs. Current year projections of property tax collections have the county surpassing budgeted amounts by approximately $10 million. This additional revenue comes from growth in property valuation. The high growth in tax collection for the current fiscal year is largely fueling property tax revenue growth for the upcoming fiscal year. This translates into estimated additional property tax revenue of over $22 million from the general fund and capital financing fund before any property tax increase. That's equivalent to over 4 cents on the property tax rate. And one of our highest priorities is the outstanding employees who make Durham County an exceptional place to live and work. Last year, the county implemented a 7% salary increase in response to a market study, and also up to a 3% merit increase. This resulted in a $6.2 million increase in the current budget. For next year, I so wanted to support a higher increase for employee compensation. However, due to the slowing growth in revenue and also the rising expenditures, I am limited to recommending a 3% cost of living increase for Durham County employees. This will cost an estimated $7.1 million. Also, health insurance costs increased significantly, and the county is expecting benefits costs for the general fund to increase by over $3 million. So to offset some of these rising health costs, I am also recommending a dual premium plan for employees. I would like to also acknowledge that the impact on our residents, property tax rate increases really impact our residents. And so where possible, we always look to limit property tax rate increases. We do this by maximizing efficiencies and limiting expansion of services to areas that provide the highest return on investment for all residents. But when there is a confluence of slowing revenue growth, of higher service demands, and of higher costs, the options to fill the revenue gaps are limited. With these realities in mind, I am proposing a 3.25 cents general fund tax rate increase. This increase will add an additional $17 million in new revenue to support education needs, employee compensation and benefits, and a host of other service obligations. We budget property tax revenue in 2 areas. One to support general fund expenditures, and the other to support the capital financing fund, which pays for capital projects as well as debt service. I would like to remind the board and residents that the property tax rate is the primary revenue source controllable by the board and is the only significant way to raise additional revenue in future years. Future tax rate increases may also be needed to support ongoing county goals, including our significant commitment to Durham Public Schools, capital planning, and other initiatives. Strong growth in property valuation continues across all special tax districts. Most districts are not requesting a tax rate increase. The Redwood Fire District is requesting a half-cent increase to support personnel costs and other pressures. And the Durham County Fire and Rescue District, covering the southern portion and RTP region, is able to provide services with a 1.5 cent property tax decrease for the upcoming fiscal year due to the strong property valuation growth. The value and the valuations of a strong and vibrant local economy cannot be overstated. So the total amount of budgeted sales tax revenue for fiscal year is $131 million. For perspective, this is the equivalent to almost 25 cents of property tax revenue. Sales tax revenue is our second largest revenue source, and it is entirely related to economic activity. Unprecedented actual collection growth since the pandemic provided a windfall of available revenue. However, unlike the previous 3 fiscal years, actual collections for the current year are trending lower than the growth we experienced in the past 3 years. This means actual sales tax collection will struggle to meet projected amounts. This trend not only impacts the current year, but limits the estimated revenue growth available for next fiscal year. The effect of slower sales tax growth can be seen in this chart. For each of the previous 3 years, sales tax revenue grew by over $11 million, with last year seeing close to $22 million. This was equivalent to just over 4 cents of property tax rate. That growth in revenue funded a whole host of county needs before adding any pressure to increase the property tax rate. However, for the upcoming fiscal year, sales tax growth is only estimated to bring in $3.3 million, less than 1 cent on the property tax rate. This is as clear an example as I can provide to show the slowing revenue growth that's constraining our ability to expand services as broadly as we would like to in the upcoming year. Here's another major county revenue source: Medicaid hold harmless. This revenue quickly grew to $12 million annually over the last several years, equivalent to over 2 cents on the property tax rate. But the current fiscal year has seen that revenue collection drop to $9.3 million, which is $3 million under budget. This loss increases pressures on property taxes, and in turn, it affects expenditure needs across the county. It is also essential to recognize some other revenue trends for the upcoming year. EMS patient fees are projected to increase by $1.4 million, while Register of Deeds fees decrease by $2 million due to higher interest rates, slower home buying, and limited housing inventory. In contrast with Register of Deed fees, an actual positive for the county is the increase in investment revenue, which is due to higher interest rates on our cash accounts. The allocation for fund balance will need to be reduced to align with the projected revenue and expenditure trends. We want to ensure that our reserves are maintained at levels that keep the county in a sound fiscal position. These factors contribute to the limited growth of the expenditure budget. So while the general fund is where the vast majority of activity and spending occurs, there are a number of other funds that serve specific county financial and operational purposes. These include the already mentioned special tax district funds, the debt service funds, and our sewer utility fund. The total county budget, including all of these funds, increases 7.3% to $954 million, while the general fund budget, a subset of that total amount, increases 6.8% to $641 million. Historical new position growth within the county has been significant. New positions reflect growing needs pushed by an increasing population, and they're funded with additional revenue. However, since the development of the current year's budget, I have specifically tried to limit new position growth, understanding that increasing efficiency is valuable and necessary as revenue growth slows. In the current year, only 20 new FTEs were created. However, with new Medicaid expansion legislation, an additional 35 DSS positions were added mid-year. Next year, I am recommending only 10 new positions to significantly lower the cost of adding new FTEs to the budget. The county's commitment to education continues to be unwavering. So now I'd like to take a look specifically at Durham Public Schools funding. This recommended budget, while recognizing the many needs of Durham Public Schools, supports an additional $13.2 million for current expense funding, bringing the total fiscal year 2024-25 support for DPS to $201 million, which is a 7% increase. This still keeps Durham in the top 5 across the state in per pupil funding for next year, which increases $380 to $5,030 per student. DPS continues to be the single largest expenditure for Durham County government at 32% of the entire general fund budget. Enough additional local funding in this recommended budget is provided to hopefully cover the cost for the state salary increase, for related costs of the local teacher supplement, as well as the implementation of master's pay. Also included in that is the charter school surcharge amount. The county also provides approximately $62 million in additional indirect support for DPS through a number of different departments and programs. So to provide more context and to further demonstrate the county's commitment to DPS, this chart shows that for decades, Durham County government has funded Durham Public Schools and has been the highest funder, one of the highest funding sources in the state. This table shows current expense allocations per student for counties ranked among the top 20 in the state. Our staff compiled this information using data from the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners annual budget and tax survey, with average daily membership gathered from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. In fiscal year 22-23, Durham County's current expense funding per student was ranked number 3 in the state. The table also captures the assessed valuation per county capita. Durham County had the 22nd highest assessed valuation per capita in fiscal year 22-23. And even with this challenging budget year, it was essential that we fund Durham Public Schools at the highest level possible. In my last year's recommended budget, I was able to recommend that we fully fund the DPS ask. However, in this year, with the organization's fiscal constraints, I am not able to recommend this in the budget. However, I have suggested that we meet routinely with Durham Public Schools over the course of the next year so that together we can create a strategy and a plan to fully meet the needs and the asks of Durham Public Schools in the future. With this appropriation in this recommended budget, Durham Public Schools' annual county funding will have increased by almost $47 million over 4 years. And while we have made substantial progress with the funding that's been provided to Durham Public Schools, I'm aware that remaining funding gaps exist within the district. One of the areas of concerns is to fund the deferred maintenance, the repairs and renovations that are needed. However, I'm optimistic that if we can strategize together, we can develop a plan to meet all of these deferred maintenance costs as well as the other needs that DPS has. We aim to identify potential funds to address the most urgent needs that Durham Public Schools has before a potential 2026 bond referendum. Another integral part of Durham County's support for education and workforce training is funding for Durham Technical Community College. This educational institution provides a myriad of services, degrees, and opportunities that either continue education after high school and towards college, or towards a high-paying, stable, and lifelong career. Total funding for DTCC increases a little over 1.8%. A total of $2.3 million of total county funding to DTCC is for Durham student scholarships, supported by dedicated sales tax. Like Durham Public Schools, additional county funding is supporting salary increases and a small increase in capital support. Also like DPS, funding increases are limited in the recommended budget due to revenue constraints and additional funding needs. DTCC will continue to provide a pipeline of trained workers for technical jobs with continued funding of $500,000 for the Back to Work initiative and the Bulls initiative. As companies have chosen to locate in Durham, there have been discussions among various economic development groups, the county, as well as DTCC, around providing them with the necessary workforce. These programs will help provide and enhance the skills of local residents so they can get and keep these jobs. More jobs filled by local workers means more dollars in the local community, which ultimately means more vibrant economy for all Durham residents. This budget also sees the county supporting an increase of over $965,000 for pre-K. This additional funding will add Durham pre-K seats at the new Murray-Massenburg Elementary School. The goal of our board has been to reach universal pre-K for all Durham County children. This will come at an estimated cost of $30 million annually to achieve universal pre-K. In total, the county is supporting education with over $220 million allocated between DPS, DTCC, and pre-K. So we have, and we will continue to offer, possibility and independence for all residents through our continued support of education. So let's now take a look at our community-focused areas. For community prosperity, I recommend adding 2 food and nutrition educators in cooperative extension in partnership with North Carolina State and North Carolina A&T State University. The program is implemented to reduce the incidences of preventable diet-related diseases and reduce nutrition insecurity in individuals with lower incomes. In Durham in 2023, more than 90% of youth and adults participating in this program identified as people of color, either Black, Hispanic, or other non-white groups. These 2 positions will be bilingual educators, allowing them to continue to do this remarkable work in English and Spanish communities, not currently reached by other programs. Within community safety, the Sheriff's Office has significant operating expenditure increases for next fiscal year, largely due to inflation-related cost increases and higher demand for sheriff services. Some of the key areas requiring new funding are additional support for Microsoft-based services, adjusting their fuel budget to match current expenses. Also, with an increasing detention center population, we now have higher food costs, which necessitates a service contract increase. The total operating increase for the Sheriff's Office is $845,000. Lastly, the Sheriff's Office must annually replace vehicles that are reaching lifespan expectancy. This budget includes replacement of 27 vehicles. Similar to the Sheriff's Office, the Office of Emergency Services must also annually replace vehicles that are nearing lifespan expectancy limits. This budget includes funding for 10 replacement vehicles, including 5 ambulances, bringing the total to 28 ambulances replaced over the last 4 years. Also under community safety, the new 36-bed youth home is finally complete. This modern facility provides space to house county juveniles in their county of residence. Additional funding is included in this budget to continue the operational launch of the facility, of which 8 additional positions are in this recommended budget. These positions will support the expanded operations of the youth home, including implementation of the assessment center. One of those positions will be a diversion coordinator, working to promote a prevention and intervention model in Durham County to reduce juvenile crime through partnerships with schools, law enforcement, courts, and other community agencies. Now looking at community well-being. Supporting community well-being and in collaboration with the City of Durham, I am recommending $1.4 million for eviction diversion services. The Durham Eviction Program brings together several different organizations, including the county, the city, and Legal Aid of North Carolina, to provide legal representation and tenant education to low-income residents of Durham who are facing eviction. The goal of the eviction diversion program is to help residents avoid eviction judgments and, when possible, to enable clients to remain in their current homes using rental assistance funding. Under community stewardship, I am recommending funding to support the property management of the Orange Factory Road Farm Campus. This site will eventually provide valuable community space and training in urban farming. Clean water and healthy soil are vital to maintain healthy watersheds. To that end, I'm recommending an environmental education contractor to advance environmental literacy and stewardship. The budget also includes funding to expand the impaired stream improvement program. The funding will also be used to install stream bank stabilizations in low-income communities. As the number of county-owned facilities increases, so too does the need for security patrol. The security contract is increasing to provide additional staffing at the youth home, at our new Board of Elections operational facility, as well as the Stanford L. Warren Library, and we will also bolster patrol coverage in county parking decks. Also, with a significant number of major water and sewer capital projects planned in and around Research Triangle Park, as well as user fees supporting these costs, the sewer utility monthly consumption rate is recommended to increase 13%. This increase will bring additional revenue of more than $1.6 million. I am also following recommendations of the stormwater plan presented several years ago by including an increase in the stormwater utility fee, the fund's primary revenue source. This fee will increase from $64 to $80 per equivalent residential unit if approved. The rate increase is one step in a larger approach and plan to eventually increase the fee to $96 million by fiscal year 2026. And as a reminder, these charges are the cost for complying with the Falls Lake and Jordan Lake state requirements, which are nutrient management strategies to restore water quality in the lakes by reducing the amount of pollution entering upstream. So now taking a look at our external affairs initiatives. The county continues to support its economic development investment program, which attracts new businesses and industry. Businesses qualify for incentive payments if they meet scheduled performance criteria. The recommended budget supports more than $2.6 million in incentive payouts. Also, public transportation continues to be one of the most pressing issues facing our region, and it's been of ongoing and intense focus by our board. This budget includes more than $2.6 million of funding for the Durham County Transit Plan and Federal Railroad Administration that the county will use to explore the feasibility of changing county railroad crossings in East Durham. I want to emphasize this grant that we received does not require a county match. And since the pandemic, county vacancy rates have been higher than normal. So we're having to take a look at our benefits plan. Having vacant positions created more workload and stress for working county employees, but it also put a damper on the annual growth in county health insurance costs. That was until this current year. We've done a great job of filling vacant positions, and with the vacancy rate beginning to decline, insurance payouts have increased. Original estimates for next year's benefits cost growth were in the $6 million plus range for the general fund. That level of increase concerned me, especially given the limitations of revenue growth. With the goal of continuing to provide a highly competitive package of benefits for our employees, we sought options that would reduce the amount of funding needed to support county insurance costs. After several alternatives were explored, a tiered option health plan is the most prudent to implement. Employees will have a choice to make in which plan works best for their situations. I completely understand that for many years now, the county has fully covered the increased cost of employee benefits. And with our limited resources, again, hard choices must be made, including what we can offer as far as employee contributions to our benefits plans. So I have provided and shared a lot of information with you this evening. I don't expect for you to remember everything, so I would like to share some key dates for you to mark your calendar so that we can have some continued discussions about the proposed and recommended budget. On Tuesday, May 28th, the board will hold a public hearing where residents will have the opportunity to speak on the proposed budget. There are also other opportunities that can be found on the county's website for residents to provide feedback. Budget work sessions will begin on Thursday, May 23rd, with additional work sessions scheduled for May 30th and June 3rd. And if needed, an additional work session will occur on June 4th. Budget adoption is planned for Monday, June 10th. So with all things considered, financially for the county, things have been pretty good. Contrast that with development of this recommended budget, where revenue growth slowed considerably and where personnel costs grew significantly, and where needs like the education continue to outpace available resources. The picture is not as rosy as it has been in previous years. It's important that we safely guide this organization through such different environments, and I accept the challenge of working with our board and with our staff to make sure that we make the best decisions for this community and for our staff. This recommended budget strives to support the Board of County Commissioners' objectives, but we also have to ensure that our ongoing services are funded to promote maximum effectiveness for our residents and businesses and staff. I look forward to the board deliberations on this recommended budget. Please know that even in these challenging financial times, I am still honored that you've given me the opportunity to work with you. I look forward to our continued budget deliberations. I know you all, being the caring board that you are, will make sure that we do what's best for our community and for our staff. And with that, I thank you for this time, and that ends the presentation of my recommended budget. Thank you.
Wait a minute, hold on. I have you.
Thank you so much, Manager Sowell, and just echoing the thanks to everyone who was part of the process in bringing this budget together for us, to our deputy county managers, our assistant county managers, the budget team, all of the different departments, staff who worked tirelessly. Thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to, I will be joining the budget work sessions virtually, tuning in via Zoom, but I'm looking forward to the discussions all of us are going to be having. Thank you again for a wonderful presentation.